the export industry is directly connected to the global market, and it operates on the sentiments also. The moment European first and then UK and US started to open, the retailers, the big retailer brands out of all these countries started to contact us again. So there is a very, very close direct link. The sooner they become open, the more they sell or start to sell, the more orders start to come towards Pakistan as well. Any job which is being duplicated in your process mapping, or which is being shared, or which is very manual, which can be easily replaced with a machine, is a high risk job. Any job which entails high skill set is relatively safer. We need to develop their skills on which we are working in. And it is absolutely important for us to be price competitive. Our productivity and efficiency has to be in line with what it is in the region. The second thing is that 48% of our population, Jawad, is female. We got to bring our female on board as well for the prosperity of the families which are finding it difficult at this point in time to meet ends.
Our guest today is Mr. Asif Malik, CEO of US Apparel and Textiles. Asif is also a member of Parvaz's working panel on textiles and manufacturing. Welcome to the platform, Asif.
Thank you.
Asif, can we start by asking you for a brief introduction to US Apparel and Textiles for our audience?
Okay. Thank you, Jawad. US Apparel and Textile is a family-owned business. This was established in 1974 with a very humble background. And over the period of time, it has exponentially grown. Today, we are an integrated textile industry with a revenue of over $350 million, majority of which is in the exports. We produce out of Lahore, and our major product is denim bottom, which we export to the world-renowned brands, almost all the famous brands. We employ about 20,000 people directly in our company, and we are one of the top 10 exporters from Pakistan. Our capacity in terms of fabric manufacturing is 36 million meters per annum, and we export about 30 million bottom pieces per year out of Pakistan. So that's a brief introduction of the group.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the introduction. Asif, given the devastating impact of the pandemic on businesses across the world, and businesses in Pakistan are no exception, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on the textile industry in general, but more specifically on the business of US Apparel and Textiles?
Okay, Jawad, first of all, let me explain to you that this COVID-19 is a unique challenge, or you can call it a crisis. Let's understand this, in my opinion, as to what this is before we get into the impact of COVID-19. This is a kind of a challenge and crisis which none of us have seen in the past. This is a crisis where precaution is basically what is saving us from its impact. There is not any scientific cure or prevention which is available at this point in time. So it's a highly uncertain environment at this point in time. So predicting the future of a business under these circumstances is very difficult. Having said that, there are few research papers which were produced recently out of this COVID discussions. So McKinsey produced a paper with the hardest hit industries list as to which industries were hardest hit. So there were many industries in that, including aerospace, hospitality, oil and gas, automobile. And then they said the apparel and fashion is also the hardest hit industry. Then there was a Moody's report on the disproportionate economic impact on the industries. And they also list few industries which are very common, and apparel was part of that. And they also mentioned that the apparel industry is the hardest hit. Then there were few surveys of the consumers' buying pattern. And we saw on those surveys that the buying behavior on retail and apparel for fashion industries is significantly dropped. About 40% of the participants of that Gallup survey said that we are not thinking of increasing, rather we are thinking of decreasing our fashion or apparel requirements. So that's the overall impact, if you ask me, which has significantly affected the textile industry globally. And since we are linked to the global industry, it has adversely hit industries in Pakistan as well.
Okay. And given that the impact of the COVID-19 has been so huge on the textile industry, what has happened to the situation of employment and jobs? Have the players let go a lot of people, or has the industry by and large been able to protect most jobs?
Jawad, the unfortunate reality of the matter is that when you have your revenues significantly downwards affected or they are adversely hit, then the cost has to go down as well.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely important in order to save the livelihood, which is the company in this matter. So in most of the industries, and specifically textile, which is a labor intensive, the major cost, or one of the major costs, is the manpower cost. So it has affected not only in Pakistan, but in the region, as well as with our major brands where we work overseas as well. And in Pakistan, we are no different from the rest of the world. If you look at US, we are now saying that about 36 million people applied for unemployment in the month of May only.
Yeah.
If you look at UK, they are saying that 24% of their jobs are lost during this process. Pakistan is no different. The Economic Survey of Pakistan is saying that from 1.8 million as a minimum and very conservative to 18.5 million people may lose their jobs in Pakistan, which is 37-38% of our total workforce. So yes, it has affected the employment, not only in Pakistan, but all across the world. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
Asif, what do you feel the business outlook of textiles should be over the next 12 to 18 months?
Okay, as I mentioned at the beginning of your first question, that it is very, very uncertain period. So in my opinion, based on whatever reviews we have seen, whatever trends we are seeing, so industry with an improved overall circumstances across the globe is getting better. But in my opinion, for our textile industry to get back on track, it will take another 3 to 4 quarters. And that too will come with a lot of challenges because there will be higher capacity available across the globe in the region as well. And the demands are not improving. So there would be price pressure. There would be pressures of faster deliveries. And there would be pressure for not being able to travel and moving on to online activities as well. So there will be challenges as well.
Asif, given the textiles and the apparel market overseas starts to resurface, would that automatically mean that the export businesses within the textiles industry will immediately start to recover as well? Or are there going to be any bottlenecks in terms of in terms of recovery of the global market and the businesses in Pakistan?
The export industry is directly connected to the global market. And it operates on the sentiments also. The moment European first and then UK and US started to open, the retailers, the big retailer brands out of all these countries started to contact us again. So there is a very, very close direct link. The sooner they become open, the more they sell or start to sell, the more orders start to come towards Pakistan as well.
If we shift our focus to the existing workforce of the textiles industry, given the shrinking revenues and profits, have obviously reduced the training budgets as well. And, that means that there has to be a shift in terms of how the learning and development needs of your current workforce have to be met. Is there a decision within the company to start moving towards more online learning platforms to make this the learning and development seamless and cost effective?
So there are two parts what I understood from this question. One is, what is the skill set which is valued today, and then how do we continue to train our workforce?
Yeah.
So if with the cost pressures, any job which is being duplicated in your process mapping, or which is being shared, or which is very manual, which can be easily replaced with a machine, is a high risk job. Any job which entails high skill set is relatively safer. So that's a very, very common sense. On the e-learning, luckily in the organization where I work, we were going through a transformation in the company since last couple of years. Okay. And e-learning was identified as one opportunity which we thought that we will grab for leadership development, as well as for our workforce. Okay. So we had already embarked upon it, but with this COVID, the need for this thing, the e-learning and online learning, has significantly increased. So we are seriously, as our business is getting back on track, we are seriously evaluating to accelerate our efforts and make it even faster in terms of e-learning for everybody across the group.
Interesting. The pandemic has also necessitated the need to try and innovate really fast in order to ensure business continuity. Are there any 2 or 3 initiatives at US Apparel and Textiles that come to mind that were taken to ensure business continuity, but now are going to become a permanent feature of your business and operating model?
To the best of my understanding, the innovation is a continuous changing process. So it will come at this point in time, and with the changing requirement, it will continue to change as well. So we'll have to continuously develop, not only for US Apparel, but for the entire textile industry. If I were to very shortly, with one word, explain to you the direction, in my opinion, in which the innovation is going in this industry, is basically the digitalization. So we used to make samples which people would carry and walk into the offices of the customers, the brands, the big brands, and then show it to them. This is all being done or will be done very soon on digital platform. So all the samples will be made on digital platform. The travel has not become very easy. It's not almost possible in the last few months. So even your marketing and sales platform will have to use the online systems. Similarly, the design and fit, which is the core of our industry, is also being shifted on a digital platform. So lot of things which actually move on to the digitalization with the objective to achieve faster delivery, reduce costs, and shorter runs.
Asif, that brings me to my next question. What are going to be the most important skills that the workforce will need to make sure that it becomes a productive member of the textiles industry as it moves into the next normal?
Okay, the famous look at the famous triangle where we call the skill, knowledge, and attitude. The three together will make the workforce effective and successful. In my opinion, in the past, we have been able to successfully focus on developing skills to some extent. Previously, it was totally unorganized sector, but in the recent past, with many organizations, including PSDF, the skill development is now kind of improved in terms of their focus on this side. The other two, in my opinion, are equally important, if not more. So, for the future of the textile industry, in addition to developing skills, we will also have to focus on developing knowledge. So, illiterate worker will gradually be replaced with somebody who can read, understand the purpose of doing that thing, why are we doing, what are the benchmarks. So, that's I call as knowledge.
Mm.
Even more important is the attitude. That is something which, in my opinion, the textile industry workforce will have to change.
Mm-hmm.
We will have to be more passionate about our work. We'll have to demonstrate more energy. We'll have to have better work ethics. We'll have to actually like what we are doing, and that's how we will develop and grow. So all three of them, one, in my opinion, as skill development is being focused, uh, attitude and knowledge is also need to be kicked up a little.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Given, Asif, that you said that the apparel industry globally and in Pakistan has been severely affected, and so have the businesses been. Are there any collective actions do you think the industry can take to try and protect jobs as well as create new ones as the business outlook changes?
Absolutely. This is about time when we all get together and with hands in hand with the government, we need to look at this industry. Now, very briefly, we are a country of 221 million people, out of which about 60% of our population is below the age of 30. Our population is growing at the rate of 2.9% every year, which is almost double the other SAARC countries in our region.
Yeah.
So our younger population is becoming more and more, and we need to create more jobs for them.
Mm.
At the same time, if you look at our exports, so textile, the previous year, the previous fiscal year before the COVID, we were exporting $24 billion.
Mm.
Our imports were about $53 billion. So there was a huge gap between the imports and the exports, and that was being bridged by the overseas Pakistanis sending the remittances.
Yeah.
60% of our exports are textile. So in order for our country to have long-term prosperity for the workforce of this country, of the population of this country, we need to increase exports and we need to employ the youth of this country. I think textile, if a proper policy is formulated with industry as well as with the government's input, we can address the employment side, which because 30% of the employment is coming out of the textile, and with more people coming in, we can focus on improving our textile industry, which will improve our exports, as well as it will create more jobs for the youth. So in my opinion, one of the higher focus is how do we improve our exports and grow our textile industry. Maybe look at the regional models of Bangladesh and Vietnam as well. And that's not very difficult to achieve. Together, the collective industry's wisdom as well as support of the government, we can take it forward.
For sure. Asif, these are very uncertain and despondent times for our youth. That's which is graduating from colleges and universities and looking to enter the job market. Is there one positive message that you can give them at this critical time which creates optimism for them and lifts their hopes?
There's something for them to look up to, because previously, in my opinion, experience in our industry counted a lot. With this changing requirement, and as we discussed, the knowledge and skills and attitude are to be developed. In my opinion, the hope or the good thing in this whole scenario of difficulties and crisis for the youth is that the inherent advantage of a tenured workman with his experience, the inherent advantage may not be as much which the experienced person was getting as it may be in the future. So in the future, the inherent advantage of the workman for his experience will reduce. Everybody will have to learn the new skill, the new norm, and the youth can actually very quickly learn all these new skills and pretty quickly compete with the tenured or seasoned workforce which we have at this point in time.
Asif, before I end, I just want to ask you one question. What are the 2 or 3 things that we absolutely need to do to make sure that our workforce is globally competitive?
We need to develop their skills on which we are working in, and it is absolutely important for us to be price competitive. Our productivity and efficiency has to be in line with what it is in the region. So, Jawad, we often compare and benchmark our financial KPIs with the region as to what is the electricity and fuel cost, what is the cost per employee, what is the minimum wage. So all these things we compare, but we don't benchmark the skill set with the region. So that perhaps also need to be benchmarked because we feel that our productivity level are lower. So we need to develop or enhance the skills so that we have improved productivity, which will make us regionally competitive. The second thing is that 48% of our population, Jawad, is female. We got to bring our female on board as well for the prosperity of the families which are finding it difficult at this point in time to meet ends. So these are the things which I think we need to do to quickly cover up on this aspect.
Oh, that's very insightful. Thank you so much, Asif, for taking the time and talk to us. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Lovely. Thank you, Jawad. Thank you very much for the opportunity.